Hello, welcome to Soulprint Insights. Thank you for joining me today. And of course, I welcome all of my subscribers, the established ones and the new ones. Thank you for checking out Soulprint. Very much appreciated. Okay, so I've been getting some fabulous questions from you guys because I asked for them because I'm looking to find out what it is you would like to know from Masudius, because the original information that has been channeled were sort of my questions. So I'm looking for yours and really, really interesting and thought-provoking questions. So I am making note of them. I'm keeping track of them, and systematically I'm going to get through them. Today, I want to once again channel the Masudius energy. Somebody asked a question about our ancestry and how important that is and how that sort of comes together. And I'm going to tack on to that question I'm requesting sort of the explanation or the information that can be given with regards to our ancestry and past life behavior and how that does or does not perhaps affect the choices that we make going forward as we're creating our soul prints. So that's what we're about today. Um, so let's just see what Masudius has to say. Here we go, people. Masudius, if you could please tell us about the importance of the ancestry, of our ancestry in any given lifetime, and if that does tie in, and if so, how does it tie in to some of the choices that we make when we are creating our soul print? We are always delighted to take your questions, to answer them, and to explore with you. So, the question of ancestry is a sort of a fascinating aspect to the creation of a soul print. Now, remember that large groups of souls tend to incarnate together. That is why often when a past life recall is done, you will discover, that your mother was your brother and, your husband was your best friend or whatever it is. The reason for that is because the souls tend to, soul groups tend to simply incarnate around the same time, and they continue to have interactions with each other, of course, in part because there are karmic implications, or there are things that they're trying to correct or review, re-experience, etc. So it's a very complicated thing creating the soul print. In terms of ancestry, it of course is fascinating because as groups incarnate, and not all of them, come into the same town at the same time, okay? But the people that you have significant interactions with, on some level, there has been that idea of incarnating as a group. So very often a group will have an experience or be a part of an experience, whether it is right dead center or it's the periphery, but they have an experience and then they want to either explore the other side of the equation, because very often, as you well know, that is exactly what a physical lifetime is about, right? It is about being able to explore the opposites in physical form. So, but yet it is not, you can't brush it with a wide brush, because it doesn't mean that sort of every single person of a specific nationality is in fact part of a sort of a group, okay? And nor does it mean that every heritage, any ancestry, any of the familial past, you chose it for a reason, but it's not necessary that you chose it even for karmic reasons or atonement reasons. Sometimes ancestry is chosen simply because there's an affinity for a certain language or culture or part of the earth. Sometimes it is chosen because it's going to be a new experience, or it is going to afford you the opportunity to explore, for example, a particular aspect of something that you want to deal with or accomplish in a lifetime. But often ancestry goes to understanding on a deeper level whatever it is that culture brings forward. So, certainly these days, there seems to be a lot of perhaps curiosity about some of the choices that people make, and perhaps why they find themselves in a particular segment of the population or in a particular group mentality or in a particular culture or race. So, often kind of the question is, well, were were people, for example, who displaced, and rather rudely, frankly, from our perspective, the natives of a land, so the Aboriginal people. So, is it possible that those settlers that came from different lands and then really treated the Aboriginals of the countries that they were discovering so poorly, have they come back as that culture to understand what being minimized feels like? Sure, some of them are, but all of them aren't. Some of them have simply chosen that particular culture or community, again, because of an affinity, because of some aspect of their soul that they would like to explore or develop. So you can't, brush things with a wide brush. It doesn't. It's not that clean cut. There's shades of all kinds of stuff that go into a soul print. So certainly, there are those who return to a certain situation in a form of atonement or in a form of trying to understand or come to terms with their behavior, or simply the energetic imprint of a particular culture. You will also know that there are many, many, many people on the earth who the history of their family or the history of their culture is almost completely unimportant to them. It simply does not matter. It does not play into what they're wanting to accomplish in a specific lifetime. And sometimes it is like a huge part of the reason why they're choosing a certain lifetime. So how does karma and ancestry kind of come together? Well, as we've explained, there very often can be that sense of, okay, well, I was on this side of the story in that lifetime or in a couple of lifetimes, and now I would like to feel sort of the results, if you will, of that behavior. I want to understand the opposite side of it. It is always important to remember that karma is simply the effect of a cause. It's not about good karma and bad karma. It's not about you mistreated a certain people or a certain situation, or you took advantage of it, and now you're going to come back because so you can know what it's like, what the shoe is like on the other foot. And that's true, but the energy behind it is not a sense of punishment. It is a sense of discovery. It is also important to remember that lessons learned from lifetime to lifetime can create a soul who is then, frankly, equipped to be able to go back into a previously experienced culture, but bring with them the wisdom and the understanding of other experiences. So they are then in a position to lift that community or that culture up. One of the sort of more shining examples, if you will, is the country of Germany, where they have such a heavy and dark smudge over the energy of the country because of the annihilation of entire, groups of people because someone decided that they were not equal to or worthy of. So there are those who continue to carry those sort of views and attitudes. But by and large, they are not conducting themselves in that way within the country of Germany. And part of the reason for that is that souls who were both victim and perpetrator, for those who have learned, for those who have recognized sort of the blindness of their ways, they returned to Germany to help lift up and heal the karmic energy and the energy of that country, to elevate it to a place where it was able to create separation between the cause and the effect. So is there a lot of that, for example, going on in America right now? Yes, of course there is. But understand that for the number of people who are kind of in a specific race or culture for a sense of atonement, there are also many who are in that same circle who are there for artistic reasons, for inspirational reasons, for all kinds of different experiences, expressions, and learnings. So there are times, absolutely, that your karma and the choice of your ancestry can be very tightly woven. And there are times where they almost have very little or nothing to do with each other. Very often, you will find that those who are looking for the opposite side expression will not reincarnate physically to the same area where the initial incident took place. So to simplify, a lot of the people who still hold the views that were held in Germany decades ago have migrated to other places. And in some ways, their culture is or is not so important. For others, they are simply choosing to go into an environment where their heritage is not quite so important. Those who tend to incarnate where heritage is not necessarily important unless you see a core people incarnating into a very specific culture. Typically, you will find that real strength of ancestry and the important role it will play when you have souls being born into the community. So you are more likely to see somebody who is very focused on or felt it was necessary to have their nationality be important or their ancestry be important. They tend to gravitate towards countries that are less homogenized. And those often whose culture is not necessarily that important to them tend to incarnate into countries or areas where the homogenization is more prevalent, and so in some ways less important. But again, within a country, there are always going to be groups of people who have come down into a specific area, a specific family, a specific culture, because that is part of what they need and require, and that is the experience that they are looking for. In many ways, the karmic considerations of a family, a culture, an ancestry, the relationship between the two is in in some cases paramount, incredibly important. In other cases, it is definitely more fluid. You will also find that you have situations and times where people who, for example, held a certain belief or conviction, and that was not balanced, or there was a sense of the learning that they wanted to accomplish was not accomplished or not accomplished well. They will often, while not necessarily go back to not go back to the same country, but they will sort of stay in the area, almost as if it is helpful to them to stay in an environment where those behaviors or those traits or those beliefs are still being addressed. So, as many souls as there are that many different and diverse connections between your soul print, karma, and your ancestry. If you feel particularly attached to your ancestry, if it is incredibly important to you, because you must realize for many it is not, but if for you there is a great intensity to understand where you came from, to understand the history of your family and the dynamics, there is a reason and a purpose behind that. And when that is something that is intriguing to you, we encourage you to get some more information on that, because you may find answers to questions you did not exactly know that you were asking. In closing, the birth of a soul to a specific family, to specific parents, is very, very rarely random. There is always a reason and a purpose that the soul chooses specifically to move into a specific family or parental environment. Often, that is part and parcel of a group that reincarnates sort of together, or deeper than that, there is a strong, and this is obviously the most frequent, there is a strong desire for two to come together. So whether that is a past life experience, or simply a soulprint covenant, for example, that is agreed upon between two souls before they return. But where you choose to be born is not random. It is something that there is a great deal of consideration given to, in terms of giving yourselves the best opportunity to have the experiences that you wish to have in any given soul print. Once again, thank you so very, very much for the opportunity for us to pass on the information that we have pertaining to your questions. You are all brilliant souls. And whatever culture, whatever family, have clarity about the fact that you are here for a purpose and a reason, and you are here at the right time for that which you wish to accomplish. We remain at this time Masudius. Okay, thank you very much. I'm just sort of going to leave it at that. A lot there to think about. So, until next time, stand in your power and stand in your light. Bye.